Our family has been budgeting continuously, like every single paycheck, for the past 12 years. Yes, 12 years of budgeting. And I would be lying if I said that we did not make any mistakes along the way. To keep you from hopefully making the same mistakes we did, I'm breaking down 5 mistakes that most people make while working on their budget and how you can avoid them. Hi, my name is Alice Baggerly from Inspired Budget, and I help you write a budget for a life you love filled with joy, not debt. The very first mistake, and one that I see people making time and time again, and don't worry, I have been guilty of making this mistake myself, is forgetting to include the extras. Sometimes we forget to plan for expenses and add those expenses into our budget that we're not used to paying for every single month. Here's an example. My oldest son goes to summer camp once a year, and that summer camp is not cheap. Now, the first year he went, I was really caught off guard, and we actually had to take money out of our savings to pay for the summer camp. We then took time to replenish our savings back up to where we were, but I knew I didn't want this to happen again. So the next summer, I actually asked the summer camp if we could divide up that summer camp payment across 12 months. And so that's exactly what we did. I took that one-time expense that really feels like it snuck up on me, and I spread it out across the whole year. You can do the exact same thing. It's really easy for things to sneak up on us, especially holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, back to school costs. Think seasonal things that maybe you only pay for once or twice, but then all of a sudden the month has come, you need to pay for it, and you're a little bit overwhelmed. Instead, think through all of those possible expenses, write them down on a piece of paper, list them out, and then take how much you think you're going to be spending on it and divide it by 12. That will tell you how much money that you could be setting aside in savings every single month for these costs. This way, you're not caught off guard when it happens. The second budget mistake that I have personally made, and I see many people that I work with also make, is not keeping everyone in the loop. If you have a partner or even kids or family that you live with, it is so important that everyone is on the same page when it comes to spending and saving. Otherwise, I'm sure you have experienced this, it can lead to misunderstandings and maybe even some arguments. To keep this from happening, I highly recommend that you schedule some regular budget meetings. What this looks like in our family is once a week on Sunday nights, my husband and I touch base. Sometimes it's even during dinner while we're having dinner with our family. We will even review our budget goals, whether or not we're focusing on saving that month. We will talk about our expenses. We'll discuss any expenses that might have caught us off guard. And we talk about if we need to make any adjustments or not. The thing is, budgets are fluid, and whatever we originally write is not set in stone. There will be a time, not if there will be a time, there will be a time whenever my husband and I need to talk about our spending and make some sort of adjustments. It also promotes transparency and shared responsibility. So that way, one person doesn't feel like they're doing all the work. Set a time once a week, if not once a month. The least you can do is once a month. Set a time with your family or your partner to just look over the money, look over the spending. I promise you it will keep so many headaches away. The third budgeting mistake I see happening time and time again is people are just making things too complicated. Here's the truth. Managing money, paying off debt, saving, thinking about all of that, it's already complicated enough. By adding in more layers and making it more difficult, we're just making it to where we don't want to work on the budget. If the tools, spreadsheets, or apps you are using to help manage your money, write a budget, are too complicated to the point that you don't even want to open them up, then stop using them. Yes, you heard me correctly. If whatever you're using to manage your money is a total pain, then it's time to replace that with something that is easier that you can actually stick with. I'm personally all about keeping things simple, whether it is cooking or managing my money. I'm always saying to keep things stupid simple. In fact, I experienced something similar to this recently. Just go with me here. My coffee maker stopped working recently, and I fell down a rabbit hole of what I wanted to replace my coffee maker with. I ended up reading tons of reviews, spending so much time looking at fancy espresso machines and 1-cup coffee makers, comparing and contrasting all the different things I could do. And to be honest, the idea of doing that was just really overwhelming. I make my coffee at home every single morning, and the idea of learning a completely new system, possibly messing it up, having to buy all different ingredients was just too much for me. So I ended up settling, I say settling, but I really should say choosing a very simple one pot coffee machine. That's right, I went with the OG Mr. Coffee because I knew that I would consistently make my coffee every single morning and I wanted to keep it simple. Do the same thing when it comes to managing your money and writing your budget. Look at your budgeting tools and ask yourself if you need to simplify them. You don't need a really fancy spreadsheet if it's confusing and overwhelming to you. Paper and pencil will work just fine. I know it did for us for years on end. Ultimately, the best tool is the one that you can stick with. The fourth budget mistake that I see people make is not thinking about the season. It's really easy to overlook how our budget and our variable expenses will change as the seasons are changing. Take my family, for example. We live in Houston, Texas. In the summer, it is hot. And I know that our electricity bill is going to be a lot higher than what it is in the wintertime. In fact, our electricity bill will hover around $275 to $300 in the summer. And then in the winter, we might pay only $100 for electricity because we have our gas heater. Here's what I highly recommend. When you're writing your budget and you're looking at how much money you're going to be estimating for water or electricity, go back to last year's statement and just see what it is that you spent. That'll give you a good idea or an estimate so that you're budgeting a close amount. When you forget to think about the season and how whatever time of year you're in impacts your budget, it's really easy to feel discouraged or overwhelmed and feel like you're just not able to write a budget that works. The fifth and final mistake that I see people make when it comes to budgeting, I have done this. It is so massive, and I think maybe you have done it too, is cutting out too much too fast. Whenever we slash our spending too drastically, it's ultimately tough to keep up with and really easy to burn out. I have personally experienced this, and I'm sure you have too. Think about it this way. Maybe you decide that it is time to stop spending so much money on takeout or going out to eat at restaurants. And so you tell yourself, okay, I normally spend $400 a month, but I really want to pay off debt or save money. I need to find some extra wiggle room in my budget. So instead of budgeting $400, which we normally spend, we're just going to budget $25 for the whole month. Now, while this is great in theory, we also have to be aware of our own personal habits and patterns. Cutting that much so quick is only going to lead to a burnout or even overspending, because it's very natural when you first start budgeting to want to be cutthroat and slash your expenses. But I just want to warn you and give you another idea of what you can do instead. Take the step down approach. This is basically when you look at your spending and you say, okay, I know I want to spend less, but instead of just cutting everything and never spending any money ever, I'm going to take a step down. Instead of spending $400 each month on restaurants, I'm going to step down to $300. See how that's different than drastically cutting it down to only $25 a month? This works really well across all different types of variable expenses and spending, from groceries to online shopping like Amazon or even TikTok Shop. It works for clothing, entertainment, restaurants. This is a really great way for you to create a budget that is actually realistic, one that you will stick to, and allow you to not become burned out so that you can continue to make progress with your money. Not everyone is perfect, and your budget won't be perfect. But when you're able to avoid these 5 budget mistakes, it's going to allow you to write a budget that you can actually stick to while enjoying the process. Let me know down below in the comments which of these you have been guilty of. I can't wait to hear from you.